Stunning video has leaked of Jenna Ellis, one of the lawyers involved with the Trump campaign in the aftermath of the 2020 election, who has since pleaded guilty in Georgia. Video of her saying, "A top Trump advisor told me Trump's not going to leave the White House, period." This is extraordinary video. It is video that has leaked in such a way that now they are looking to impose a seal on all evidence related to the Georgia criminal case in order to prevent further video from leaking. This is ABC News that has obtained this video. It's an interview between Georgia prosecutors and ex-Trump lawyer Jenna Ellis. I'm going to play this for you. This is building up our picture and our understanding that Trump really believed that he had some kind of way to stay in power even after losing. We looked at one example on Monday. Let's look at the video and then discuss.
Okay. And at the time period where we're going to start to discuss, what was Dan Scavino's role?
At the time, I believe his title was social media director for the White House. It became deputy chief of staff at the time that the conversation in question took place.
Okay, and when was that?
The conversation was around December 19th of 2020 at the White House Christmas party. And I emphasized him. I thought that the claims and the ability to challenge the election results was essentially over, because he said to me in a kind of excited tone, "Well, we don't care and we're not going to leave." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, the boss," meaning President Trump, and everyone understood the boss, that's what we all called him. He said, "The boss is not going to leave under any circumstances. We are just going to stay in power." And I said to him, "Well, it doesn't quite work that way, you realize." And he said, "We don't care."
So, there's two sides to this, right? On the one hand, the idea that you would lose, just not leave the White House and say, "I'm the president," and be able to do that. It's so ridiculous that it is the reasonable reaction of many to say that couldn't possibly be true. Nobody who could possibly have believed that at the time. On the other hand, it's Trump. And on the other hand, he believes all sorts of things that don't make any sense. So it's useful to get damning testimonies like these to have. And as we build up an understanding of what was happening at this time, you had Trump who had convinced himself, "I'm simply not going to leave. If I leave, I'll be somehow reinstated." We learned about that earlier this week from the recordings of conversations with ABC News reporter Jonathan Karl, where Jonathan Karl said, "What did you mean when you said I'll be back 2024 or sooner?" And Trump said, "I'm not even going to explain it to you because you wouldn't understand it." Trump genuinely thought there would be some mechanism to be reinstated. And as he's sort of trying to stay, but also, I guess, recognizing he's going to have to leave, taking any documents that he can in boxes with classified information that he stacked around his toilet like a fort of some kind, maybe to pretend he's still president, holding meetings at Mar-a-Lago and holding and shuffling papers and the entire thing. Now, I want to go to, there's so many directions we could take this discussion in. The video is damning. This is going to be evidence in the forthcoming criminal trial against Donald Trump. That Georgia trial is going to be insane. Let's focus in on one aspect of this that we haven't talked about much that I think is relevant. A bunch of right-wingers seem to be of the mindset that if you didn't succeed at a crime you attempted, that it's sort of like, oh, all bets are off. It's fine. No big deal. That if you failed to do a thing that is illegal or unconstitutional, but you tried to do it, as long as you failed, that's it. He left ultimately. The fact that he thought he would stay and tried to stay and had fake slates of electors and attempted to disenfranchise voters and seize voting machines, it doesn't matter because ultimately he left. And obviously this is sort of like, I tried to kill someone, but I failed. So it's fine. We just say it was a boo-boo and we walk away. That's not the way that the justice system works. Just because you failed at a crime you tried to do doesn't mean you're not guilty. And by the way, imagine for a second if it was revealed that at the end of the Obama presidency, or that right now Joe Biden, and thinking about his 2024 campaign, if Obama or Biden ever said, "Hey, you know what? Even if I lose, supposedly, It's for the good of the country that I remain in the Oval Office, so I plan to do that. Imagine if Obama or Biden had ever even alluded to that, never mind orchestrated a multi-year plan to make that effective. You would have the right-wingers with guns all over the streets, and the reaction to Trump doing it just doesn't even pass the sniff test. So stunning video here from Jenna Ellis. And this is the sort of evidence that there's going to be in that Georgia criminal trial, which we will be watching very, very closely. If you're familiar with me and my show, you know that I don't promote crazy supplements, drinkable silver, wacky stuff that right-wing shows do. I don't offer miracle cures or anything like that. I promote products that are backed by science and that make sense at the end of the day. That's what our sponsor AG1 is. It's really simple. Instead of taking dozens of different vitamins, potentially spending hundreds of dollars on them, what I do is before my morning cappuccino, I have a scoop of AG1 in water. Simple. I get the entire day's worth of vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics. It's in a form that you can absorb and utilize. It tastes good. You can put it in a drink. You can put it in a shake. Whatever works for you. Unlike routines that involve all sorts of pills and gummies and the inconvenience and the difficulty of maintaining it, AG1 is just foundational nutrition made easy and affordable. I've even gotten some friends and family hooked on AG1 because it's just simple. It's simple and more cost effective. Go to drinkag1.com/Pacman. You'll get 5 free travel packs of AG1 and a year's supply of vitamin D for free. The link is down below.